So welcome to Upgrade Your Marketing to Integrated Marketing. We are here to share the secret, or really the secrets behind getting your inbound and outbound marketing to work together for your B2B company for generating leads. And my name is Marguerite Insco. I am the Inbound Marketing Ninja. That was a name presented to me, and I said, yeah, okay, let's go with it. So I think it's I like it. It's a lot of fun, but it is something that I enjoy and am passionate about in my business and in the services that we provide to our clients. And I'm not by myself here either. I'm very glad to be doing this webinar with Victor Clark. And we're each going to just share briefly about what we do in business, and then we're going to jump into our presentations. So to tell you what, Victor, since I've been talking, why don't you share a little bit about Clark Incorporated, and then we'll bounce back to Relaunch You, and then we'll get started.
Okay. Clark Incorporated is your hub for managing the creation, distribution, and management of inbound and outbound marketing. That would be your marketing media, and we can help you that using outbound like print, promotional items, banners, posters, and then inbound marketing is mobile sites, apps, email, those sorts of things. So we help our customers market their marketing and help them improve their results by implementing a lot of the things we're going to talk about here in the next few minutes this afternoon.
And we've been working together now for a number of webinars presenting concepts in marketing because we find that our services are pretty complementary, though different. Relaunch You is a business-to-business inbound marketing agency, so that's what we specifically specialize in, is all inbound, not any of the outbound that Clark Incorporated does. And we've been customers to each other, or we are, I should say. We're partners. And so we really just enjoy doing this stuff together because we find that our knowledge and our strengths in what we do just seem to be better when they're together. And that's how come we've brought to you today this wonderful presentation, which I don't think there's a lot of out there, and that's why we put it together. How do you get your two different ways of doing marketing together and aligned to get really good results? So I'm going to let Victor kick it off here because he's going to present some really good reasons why we have to change our approach in marketing, and then I'll jump in and get into the technical pieces about what that looks like and some things to consider.
Okay.
All right, take it away.
Okay, great. I'm going to try to give you about a 30,000-foot overview of what integrated marketing should be and how you should implement it, and then we get a little bit more into the presentation. Marguerite's going to drill down with some more details. So I'll start with a question. Have you noticed that you have fewer incoming phone calls from your customers over the past few years? And how, other than spam, have you noticed you've had fewer and fewer meaningful email conversations with your customers? Ever wonder why this is happening? This is not necessarily a fad because at the same time, a lot of businesses are spending more and more on cell phones, smartphones, and their data plans are going up. Why is that? Because more and more of customers are searching your businesses out very quietly online. You don't know who they are, but they are visiting your sites and learning about you. And I want to share a quote from came out the other day from a research firm called the Gartner Group. And they said they predict that by 2020, a mere 4.5 years from now, by 2020, customers will manage 85% of their relationships with businesses online, not in person. Let me say that again. In 4.5 years, customers will manage 85% of their relationships with businesses online. Customers do not want to talk to people face-to-face. They're searching you quietly online. And I really don't think businesses have a real grasp that this is happening to them right now. I don't know they have a great understanding that this is a dynamic change that's happened quickly over the last couple of years and will begin to accelerate. So I've sort of taken it the task on my part. I have decided that I will become the Johnny Appleseed of integrated marketing. My mission is to go out and try to explain to as many people who will listen to me that this is what's happening, that you need to start integrating your old legacy, I wouldn't say old, bad term, but your existing legacy outbound marketing, your direct mail and brochures and things, and begin to incorporate some new things into it, like websites and email. Here's another stat for you. Customers are 60% of the way down the buying path before they contact you. Relates back to the Gartner Group's quote. They are silently searching your website and social media sites. Customers have the power now, not the salesperson. It used to be the salesperson had all the power because they had all the knowledge. In order for a customer to learn about a product, they needed to call the salesperson. The salesperson would drop off a brochure, and then they would sit down and go over it. Not the case anymore. You can find that information on the internet now, on websites. And if your website is not giving them the information they're looking, they're dropping you like a hot potato and going on to your competitors who may have the information that they're looking for. So product knowledge is no longer the core competency for organizations. Businesses now must focus entirely on their ability to produce results for the clients. And you need to begin to use your website and even your direct mail and broached and printed newsletters to show how you produce results for your clients. You need to show them how you produce ROI for your clients. Give them facts, figures, numbers, percentage changes. That's what the customers are looking for now. Move on to the next one here. And what's sort of typical of businesses that are kind of in just the only outbound marketing way is they're stuck in the 90s, and it just marketing doesn't work that way anymore in 2015. Their marketing tactics are basically, oh no, we got a problem to solve. Our sales are poor. We have excess product we need to move. We need to have a holiday sale, something like that. And most outbound marketing falls into this trap. And what clients do is create marketing that they try to close a sale. And it's just not going to happen that way anymore. You just can't. It just doesn't work to offer a discount, even almost offering something free. If I don't need it now, I'm not interested in it. Your clients start to smell your panic as you try to push this outbound marketing out with these offers that really doesn't have any effect on them. Saving money or discounts, sometimes that's not a motivator. Now, what you can do, and Marguerite will go into this a little bit more later, is start looking at your outbound marketing, postcards, direct mail, newsletters, as offering some resources to them. You're helping, not selling. Put a link to some white papers you've written about how you've helped a client save money. The top 10 reasons why you should use my business versus your competitors. The top 10 questions you should ask a supplier before you do business with them. Things they can use, maybe not necessarily ready to buy, but certainly something that they will take stuff back in their desk drawer to use for later on. And you must have some consistent marketing plans in place. Marketing in spurts doesn't work. Again, this is kind of the old outbound marketing model, and Marguerite will touch a little bit more on how inbound is more consistent, more planned, more controlled, that you can start to generate consistent results with. It's not knee-jerk. It's not stressful when you use inbound marketing. Too much outbound marketing is fluctuation in your personnel, resources, money. It affects your quality, your customer satisfaction, and it produces a lot of stress. But to save some of that stress, try implementing some inbound techniques so that you have a steady flow of qualified leads coming into your business. And I think a big reason a lot of businesses are afraid to try some of these new inbound techniques is because they're just flat unfamiliar with it. Outbound is tried and true. Printing's been around since Gutenberg invented the printing press 500 years ago, and it's just easy because you know how it works. I'm not really familiar with websites and apps and email. It's kind of scary. But it's implementing some of those tactics that Marguerite's going to talk about into your outbound marketing is not evil. They can be applied to outbound marketing. They can be applied to outbound marketing in a B2B, a B2C situation, and even nonprofits doing fundraising. They can use them to help generate money. And just to throw another statistic at you, inbound marketing produces 54% more leads than outbound marketing. So just think if you could take some of that inbound tactics and apply it to your outbound marketing, how much better your outbound marketing could be. And sticking with outbound marketing, let's see if I move the page up. Sticking with outbound marketing it's easy because it's safe, but is it working? You need to consider some change that's vital to your success. Many B2Bs may be selling locally, but your clients are buying nationally. And think about you personally when you are purchasing a product online. You're searching a website that literally could be anywhere in the world, and you can have it shipped, and most places will ship it to you at no cost, free shipping. So even though you may be a local business, you think your clients are local. Really, they are, but they're really buying internationally now, and you need to think how to change your business and to be able to sell internationally. I would suggest try a mix of inbound and outbound marketing. Have a young outlook. Youngsters don't read newspapers much anymore. I don't know. How many of you all read newspapers? They seem to be kind of a dying trend. I had sort of an epiphany the other day when I was a speaker at a conference called the Internet Marketing Summit, and my talk was a little bit about exactly what we're talking about here today. And the host said, I've never thought about postcards or outbound marketing to try to market my business. All I ever think about is Facebook ads and Google ads and those sort of things. So the younger generation doesn't quite think like the older generation does as how to build marketing. But you can't stop using outbound marketing because there's still the older generation out there that's going to be around for a while. They're still buying. So you need to kind of start changing your expectations of what you would expect from your outbound marketing. Quit going for the sale in your outbound marketing. Start thinking about success is you're adding more qualified leads to pass over to your sales department. You're building your mail list, your email list, or your direct mail list. Don't think of success as a sale. And you need to build these lists with great offers, calls to action, landing pages. Marguerite will talk a little bit more about those. And your offers don't need to be money off, free, discounts, those sort of things. Offer up some free, helpful resources. You need to help, don't sell. Create marketing so good that your prospects would be willing to pay for it. And one of the things that sort of scares people off, when I tell my clients is, you need to start selling some of the corporate secrets, and they sort of back off like, really, I need to do that? Yeah, because most people are not going to act on them. They just don't have the expertise to know how to act on them, or they don't have the external forces to know how to act on those. So when you create marketing, just think to yourself as you're creating your ebooks or you're doing your own webinars or slide shares or those sorts of things, is this good enough that my customer would be willing to pay for it? If not, you might want to go back and think and rework it a little bit. Create such an idea in your customer's mind that you create imperfect substitutes so that your product is the only choice. If you're buying printing, printing's sort of interchangeable between different printers. One printer's as good as the other. The price is the same. That's an easy substitute. But if you're going to the movies, those are imperfect substitutes. You're not going to go see one movie over another. You're choosing to go see the new Jurassic Park movie because you're not interested in the new shoot-'em-up thriller film Fast and Furious that's out there now. Those are imperfect substitutes. You're going to go watch the Jurassic Park movie, because there is no substitute for that. Your marketing needs to be an imperfect substitute so that you are the only choice. In doing this, traditionally, inbound and outbound marketing plans were kept separate. Not anymore. You need to keep them, you need to start to merge them together. The problem with outbound is it's difficult to automate. A term that I read from a book the other day is called, you need to create propinquity. That is, you need to create relationships. Your marketing needs to be such that your customers and clients are constantly bumping into you. Create reasons for them to constantly bump into you. If you've seen the Mad Men TV back in the 60s, back in those days, top of mind awareness is what you wanted to create. That if you had enough money, if you were Coca-Cola, and if Apple had existed back in the 60s, you had enough money that you could throw at marketing, that people would remember you all the time, because you really only had to pay for 3 TV stations. There was only a handful of radio stations. There was 1 newspaper. It wasn't hard to throw money at it and create top-of-mind awareness. Now with using integrated marketing, you can begin to create what's top-of-mind preference. If you begin to offer materials that your customers begin to choose you because you're answering the questions they're looking for, when it's time for them to buy, you will be their preference, top-of-mind preference. And it's certainly much easier to do that because now there are hundreds of satellite TV stations, radio. I listen myself to satellite radio. I couldn't remember the last time I listened to a commercial played on a terrestrial radio station. Heck, even TV, you don't even have to watch satellite TV. You can go to Netflix and binge watch the entire series of Breaking Bad and never see a commercial. So it's getting harder and harder to get the customer's attention using those old outbound techniques. Again, I ask you to please be helpful in your content, in your marketing. You need to help. Don't sell. That's my one. If there's one takeaway I can offer you to have before you leave this webinar, is your marketing needs to help. Don't sell. I guess maybe Marguerite, you want to open it up, see if there's any questions from anybody or anything, or.
Let me see, Katie, if you have any questions.
Okay.
Oh, it's all really clear.
Okay. Yeah, I know you and I personally sort of talked about it a little bit the other day. I might be rehashing some of the things I said, but
well, it's interesting to hear you say it again, kind of in a more formal way, because I didn't get it even the first time, but now I can relax and listen again, and it's really sinking in.
Okay. So, am I Johnny Appleseed? Am I spreading the word?
You are. You are.
All
Go,
right.
Johnny, go.
Yeah.
Go, Johnny, go.
All right. Okay.
Oh,
let me pass it on over here to Marguerite to drill down a little bit more. Give us some details.
Sure. Okay, so inbound, outbound, sometimes people are kind of a bit confused, in terms of what that actually means. So I came up with a relaunch you definition here, which is going to fit basically what you find anywhere else online. It's positioning your business to be discovered. Inbound marketing is positioning your business to be discovered. That's the key word, by those seeking help. And discovered meaning that they don't know you existed until they found you. So they don't know the name of the business. All they know is that they're looking for help, and then they discover you. And it's permission-based marketing. So it means that we're not going to do anything or send them anything that they don't want. It's not unsolicited advice or unsolicited marketing. It is discovery, and we encourage and offer more, but based on their behavior or interest, we give them what they're looking for, not what they're not looking for. Whereas outbound marketing is really more of an announcing approach, where we're letting people know, hey, this business that I have here is a good fit for you guys. You can target your outbound marketing to be very specific with who you want to get your message across to, which is very helpful, of course. But it is not permission-based, so it means everybody that's being targeted gets to hear. Now, what we've learned to do as people today is we just ignore anything that is not meaningful to us. The advertisements on the side of our computer screen are walk away when the commercials come on. So it doesn't mean that they don't work. I know that they do, because after my daughter watches Saturday morning cartoons, she makes it very clear which sneakers and toys she wants next. So it's nothing wrong with either of these, but we're just knowing that balance between the two is the critical piece. So, when we're talking, we've talked about the methodology, okay, the kind of the push-pull approach between the two different versions. But what is it actually in terms of marketing channels? Well, inbound is all internet-based, which has grown huge in our lives, even every more each year, or more each year. Website traffic that's organic, referral traffic from other websites, social media, on your social media, organic reach with your posts or anything that goes viral. All of this is inbound related. This is people discovering us. Even online reviews written about our business and phone calls. We don't get a lot of them, but people, if they call in, I guess they would have to discover our name first before they call in to learn more, but this is the one that's going away. It should depend on inbound phone calls. Now it's inbound website traffic and social media connections that really play a big role. It's that discovery component that we don't know that's happening unless we're watching. And then outbound, these are pretty straightforward, right? Advertising, publishing, speaking, press releases, trade shows. So you get the idea. What we're trying to do is just we want to augment our results from outbound and inbound. Oops, I clicked there on the slide. So I think before we can do that, we have to really understand the pros and cons of both ways of doing marketing, because they're just so opposite of each other. So the great stuff about inbound marketing, it works all the time. Your website, unless it's down, is always there ready to be discovered by the person who is waiting to find what it is they're looking for. And inbound marketing has been shown to do a great job producing sales qualified leads, SQL. Now there's some nurturing that has to happen the first time someone comes through in terms of email marketing. But inbound is a way that you don't have to spend your time talking to someone as a salesperson. A salesperson spending their time talking to someone until they really are qualified and ready to talk. And that's what that other person wants anyway. And over time, your cost of acquiring a client goes down because we're doing the same thing. There's a baseline cost. There's a fixed cost involved, but it works. You can do the same thing for an extended period, and more people are attracted because you're building your social media following every month. You're increasing your website content every month. It's like trying to think of a good term for it. It just builds on each other, I guess is the best way to put it. And you own the channel. So yay, great things. I'm building my own marketing channel. This means a lot. Now the time or the downside to this, it takes time, it takes some knowledge. You have to research, you have to plan. And so that's why some people are not as ready to jump into it, because maybe they've been blogging for a couple of months and doing some email marketing. It just hasn't seemed to really do what we were expecting to yet. But this is because inbound is focused on long-term results and bringing in business. Now the pros with outbound, you can kind of manage how you want to reach out to people, and it depends on the budget, right? But if we're going to spend we know a trade show is going to connect us with X amount of number of leads every time we go to a trade show. We get 50 more leads, so then we need to go to 5 trade shows this year or 2 trade shows. Or we need to buy this much ad space. The numbers are all there, so we can manage that. And we can use it when we need it to really bump up the activity. And it's familiar in many cases, too. A lot of people are comfortable with that. Here's some of the trouble, though. The lead quality can be pretty mixed sometimes, especially going back to that trade show example. You do all those phone calls, and it was, a lot of that was a waste of time, and they didn't even want to talk to us because they got bombarded by everybody else at that trade show that's calling them too. And really the cost doesn't go down. If we want to do more ads, if we want to do more spots, we have to pay more money to reach more people, which is, again, not happening with inbound. Now, inbound takes time to grow, but it's the opposite effect. It's a trajectory that goes the opposite direction. And any outbound marketing that we do, we don't own that channel. We have to pay for it. It's sort of like renting, okay? So how can we get the pros of inbound working for us and the pros of outbound working for us as much as possible? We can't ignore these 2 cons, but what we can do maybe is supplement the pros, covers our cons here and vice versa. That's the idea. And it's all about balance. And don't worry, we're going to come back and show you here an example in just a few minutes. But where do I spend my time? I guess is a big question a lot of people have. Do I spend more time doing inbound marketing or outbound? Where do I put my money? And there really is no straight-up answer. It's not like a 50-50 split. It's really about your goals. Where are we going for the long term and the short term? Timeline plays a big role because we know that outbound marketing creates or generates business faster. It's just not sustainable. Inbound marketing takes time, but it's more sustainable. We have to think about the length of your buyer's journey. Does it take 20 days to close a deal with a new contact, or does it take a year? That makes a big difference in terms of how we have to maintain that relationship in between. Now, inbound marketing is great for those long-term relationships or long buyer's journeys. Typically, they're going to be 3 to 6 months in the B2B world, but sometimes it can be faster, and that's going to tell us where do we want to spend more of our money. The faster we can close deals, the better to stick with outbound. The longer it takes, the better to stick with inbound. And we also have to consider what do we want to accomplish in increasing revenue? Are we looking just to extend the lifetime value of a customer, keeping them coming back and buying more and repeating business? Or is it that we really need to just acquire a lot of new clients? Are we going towards a new market that we're targeting that we want to grow? So all of these are factors in our decision making on creating the right balance. I guess it's a very Zen-like thing. Now, when we're thinking about inbound marketing, what exactly is involved? I said earlier it was organic traffic, right, of these different sources, like your website or to your website or organic reach in social media. But really, when you're looking at an inbound system, one that's where it allows people to discover you and then you stay in a relationship with them that nurtures them through that buyer's journey, then you're looking at 4 main components here. Your website is the hub, and blogging is the way to create content that generates traffic. Then we have gated content or content that you can download behind a form that captures leads for us. And this is that helpful information that Victor was referring to earlier, a white paper, an ebook, a video, and so forth. And what we're making sure is that our website is looking at the interests of our buyers in all different stages of their journey, beginning to end. And I'm going to show you what that looks like here in just a moment if you've never investigated this component before. But if someone is just making some initial decisions or considerations in a process that will eventually lead you to or lead them to purchasing your product or service, and they're on your website, they're looking for that, getting those questions answered earlier in that buyer's journey. And if it's not there, they go elsewhere and find it. So it's important that we are aware of who our buyers are in the whole time that they're trying to move through those decisions that lead them closer to you. So the website is the hub. Social media is a great way to reach out to people, make personal connections, and bring traffic to your website. You really want to grow your followers, of course, in your preferred media that makes sense for your business. LinkedIn is a really big one for B2B. You have to publish content regularly, of course, on there so that contains the links to bring them back to the website. You want to monitor a lot of social media, too, to see what other people are doing. It is social, right? So it's an back and forth interaction. Social media is so important today to provide social proof to people who are considering your business. Not just social media, but other review sites such as Yelp or Angie's List, for example, if that applies in your industry, are ways that people can make decisions about the quality of your business based on other people's opinion. So it's third-party opinions bringing proof here about the quality of your business and services as opposed to your own marketing that's speaking that. Email marketing is how you bring people back to your website, and it's done through an opt-in list, meaning they asked to be contacted and to stay in touch because of the value that you're bringing to them. And, of course, to do this successfully as we grow our opt-in list, it's through automation. Otherwise, you're going to spend a lot of time sending and tracking emails and looking at the activities. So businesses that are looking for a long-term growth strategy are definitely looking at automation. And lead intelligence, this is where you really know what's happening when people come to your site. And because Victor was alluded to earlier, which is so true, people come to your site, they don't find what they want, and they leave. Well, you need to know more about that. There's things such as reverse IP lookup that gives you an ideas about where people came from when they visited your site, who referred them there. Maybe you referred them there with some outbound marketing. That's a key thing to know. But once they've converted on the website through a form, if we're using an automation system, we can then look at their activities and see which pages they visited. We can see which emails they've opened. And all this integrated into a CRM for our sales team, and we've aligned our sales and marketing. So inbound, wow, it's a lot. But when we're talking about more than half of our leads being generated through this process and pumping it up, like this is huge, you can really pump this stuff up through outbound marketing, then especially your website traffic that is nurtured by these three things. You can see there's a lot of value that can happen in that alignment. So the journey that I was referring to, you want to map this out for your buyers. What does that look like? What are they thinking about in the information stage? By the way, so is this like first of all, a 30-day process, a 60-day process? At the very beginning, they're just noticing some symptoms in the work environment that says, it looks like some change is needed, or it looks like there's an opportunity we could go after. And are we really committed to making that change? We don't know what that solution is going to be yet, but we're saying this doesn't work for us anymore. We're going to do something different. And they move into a middle stage called consideration, where they're really looking at the scope of the situation. How big is this? How important is it? Where does it fall in our other plans? And they're looking at solutions. And they're going to start committing themselves to an approach that they want to take. Now, what is that approach? Well, there's a lot of end results you can get through different companies who provide the different means of service delivery. For example, a training company, they could do in-house delivery on training. They could do online training. And maybe this buyer has said that, look, we need to get some consulting and training done in our organization because of this need maybe in the HR situation. And do we want to go on our online approach? Is that what we want to put our employees through, or do we want to bring someone in here? So these are things that they're considering in the middle of their journey. At the end, that's just when they're making a decision and justifying it. We're going to go with company A or B. You know what? We're going to go with B, and here's the reason why. And we're justifying that choice. So this is what we're talking about as a buyer's journey, and how this plays a role now in inbound, I think, makes a lot more sense, because where is all of our outbound marketing usually targeting? The decision stage, or just here towards the end of the consideration stage. But as you can imagine, the loyalty that you can engender from someone that's marketing qualified, if you capture them at the information stage, it's a much stronger way to close that deal right down here. So it's reaching back further, and that's what your competitors are doing with their inbound marketing. They're reaching back and connecting with people much earlier in the journey.
I'll say that's how you, if I can just say, that's how you create the imperfect substitutes there.
Yeah, thank you. Tying it back to there. See, I should have said that. So let's look at 3 examples, and then I'll give you a next step of how to take all these wonderful ideas into action. Now, these are just examples. They're not scripts or exactly what you should do. These are just kind of ways to kind of pull it all together, I guess. So, for example, a business that has thought leadership involved. Okay, so we're talking about training companies, consulting companies, for example. These are typically organizations led by people who are thought leaders in particular industries. And it's very common to find these businesses doing speaking events, writing books. The thought leaders are anyway. They're publishing articles. They're doing interviews, right? These are all outbound methods. They're getting a lot of activity. A lot of interest is generated. How can we get all this interest distilled down into what are actual viable leads, right? Because the person attending a speaking event might be like, wow, yeah, I like what this person says, and I'm thinking what their organization does is a good fit for my business, but they're not really ready to pick up the phone yet, okay? So some examples, or this is what everybody should do. This is just kind of across the board, but definitely tied to speaking events. Customize calls to action and landing pages. Every one of these outbound efforts can have a call to action at the end. For example, with a client with a training company in a healthcare system that I have, they have regular speaking engagements every year, and they offer a copy of their case study if someone's interested in getting an interesting case study of work that they've done in the past. All they have to do is come sign up at their booth, at the end of the speaking engagement. And so that's a way that they can get email opt-ins at the events, and they're high-quality opt-ins because they're looking for not a freebie, not a $25 gift card of some sort. They're looking for valuable information that's helpful to them at a stage of the journey, which is usually about in the consideration stage or maybe at the beginning, the information stage, if that speaking engagement really resonated with them. So always think about anything that you do outbound, is there a way I can get them to come to a specific landing page and convert by giving them something that they would find of value? And that value piece is going to be dependent on what the content is being shared in these outbound examples. Now, interviews are a really wonderful way to create inbound links to your website, which is really important for SEO purposes or for search engine optimization. The more people linking to your site, especially quality websites linking to your site, the better that helps your website rank and perform for keywords. So you could maybe ask for interviews, and then that's great. Make sure they backlink to your website. Or you could pursue interview relationships or opportunities with organizations or people that have really solid reputations that would be a high-quality backlink. You could do this proactively or just take advantage of opportunities, either way. Now, some other things. Definitely be promoting any events you attend on your social media. Encourage people to participate that way. So it's this stuff that's out there that you're spreading and speaking, and books being published and articles being published. They're getting their own exposure through those own channels, but you want to also help promote that through your own channel. And definitely be using as many tracking links as you can with shortened URLs. So, for example, that speaking event. With this one particular client, I can see people who have visited a landing page, but they didn't convert. But I know that they were sent there because they attended this speaking event because we used a tracked URL that they put into their browser and got to the page from. Now, with that reverse IP lookup, I can see what company did that. Now, maybe they didn't take an action right then, but they know who we are, and I know who they are, and then the sales team can step in other ways very gracefully to continue building that relationship, maybe some LinkedIn connections, or I think that's probably about the easiest way, through social media, honestly, or send them a very thoughtful piece of direct mail or premium that continues to open up the conversation. So that's thought leadership, but let's look at a whole different kind of industry. Technology. So now we're looking at things like software or IT support. You're going to find a lot of outbound marketing done by them in trade shows and digital ads or magazine ads or direct mail. And so what are ways that they can tie this into their inbound system to capitalize on the activity generated here? Well, anytime before you go to a trade show, it's always smart to build your social media connections in advance whenever possible. If you can get the list of people who are attending, that's really helpful. Or if you've been to the trade show pretty regularly, you have a good idea of who to connect with in social media that maybe you haven't connected with yet. Building an opt-in email list, obviously, at the event. Just like at the speaking event, it's the same thing. Offer quality information that people want to sign up for instead of throwaways. Here's something interesting. Provide information or consideration stage content in a buyer's journey through your ads and direct mail, instead of focusing at the end of the buyer's journey or talking about how great this product is, this piece of software, or the special that's going on right now, or sign up for a demo. These are all things towards the end. Let's give some helpful content that helps people move towards the use of that software or IT support, because they're stepping into a new game or a new way of managing the operations of their business. And like I think I was telling this to you, Victor, earlier. There's stuff out there that I wouldn't use that's wonderful, because even though it's free, because it would take me time to integrate it into my business to capitalize on an effective way. And that's true with any sort of technology. So how can we start moving people that direction? And I really think webinars are a direction, well, not I think, I know. Webinars are the way that a lot of people are going, just like Victor and I are here, but in the technology field to help with this educational process in the information and consideration stage, not just doing demos. And really focusing on retention after the trial period, if that's true for that software program that's being tested. And then co-marketing is something that's really popular for technology-based organizations, because they often have technologies that are complementary to other technologies, and these other technologies have their own connections and resources and inbound system, and pairing up means that we can magnify that. Not just inbound, but outbound too. So these are some ways that are great to connect the two different distinct ways of marketing together. Let's look at one more example here. How about a services provider business? This is actually more along the lines of kind of descriptive of what you and I do, Victor. Outbound, you're going to find direct mail. You're going to find primarily a lot of direct prospecting. They might use premiums. I've seen that happen a lot lately. People, and I like it too, people coming to me with premiums to open up conversations with me, like a box of root beer showed up on my front porch one day from a company that was interested in partnering with me. Even something as simple as Starbucks gift card, just to open up a simple conversation, not a sales pitch, but just to learn more about what we do, and they have a few questions to ask. Third-party email too. This is just another example of where we could not buy a list. You could do that, buy a list and email to it, or it could be an email that already is generated regularly to a bunch of followers, and we run an ad on it. So that's a possibility too, where outbound-wise, to get exposure and reach. Let's tie it back, though, here to what our inbound system is doing. I would, instead of direct prospecting through phone calls, which is so common, is do a lot more of it on social media. I do a lot of prospecting through social media, and I really enjoy it. It's a way just to get to know who people are in the industry, even if they never do business with me, even if we don't always talk. I know what they're doing because of their news feed. I know in our conversations I'm building meaningful relationships so I can connect other people to each other, even if I'm not in an official business transaction with them. Because if that's only my focus is just to get business, then no one's going to be interested in connecting with me. And I can't be meaningful or bring value to them that way anyway. Now, going back to that customized call to action at the direct mail or in the premiums that we're offering and getting landing pages for them to go to. So, for example, that root beer, the way that they set it up was they just said, hey, if you like this root beer, could you do us a huge favor? Could you come to this? And they gave me a landing page to go to learn more about why they wanted to talk with me. And then they had even an appointment scheduler. Calendly is a popular one, where I could set up that appointment where they just wanted to have that friendly conversation with me. So it was very easy. I could decide to do it all in my own time and execute that relationship within my own timeline. And it was they were very targeted, though. This was not a wide-blasted kind of hit or miss sort of thing. They knew exactly the messages that they wanted to present to me, and it was the right kind. So they did a great job targeting their outbound marketing and tying it to their inbound. And now I get regular emails from them talking about, hey, here's some other ways that you can consider the use of this product, or here's what's going on in this industry that you may be interested in. And it keeps me engaged. Even though we haven't done anything yet, it keeps me engaged. And of course, we always want to make sure we have solid reviews online. This is really important for service providers. And also consider, and this is true for everyone, so I won't just say for service providers, but remember who your fans are versus your decision makers or your buyers. Who are your end users and who are your buyers? Certain social medias are going to be better for the end users or fans. Okay, let's do like a service provider provides office products, okay? The fans of this office products company are going to be the people in the office using the office products, right? Whereas the buyer is going to be the person actually in the procurement department or the people leading the business that are making the bigger decisions about who they're building these relationships with. But we want to keep the fans happy. That's very important. We can't do that as easily with outbound marketing. Or maybe we can, but we just have to think about how we're going to build our fan base if we do that. If our outbound marketing is all focused on getting buyers, then that's a different strategy. So we have to remember who we're targeting and then what we want to accomplish in the outcome. So those are 3 examples, and if you found these helpful, you're probably thinking, well, what do I do next? Here's what I love every client that I work with to do, a SWOT analysis of their marketing objectives. You've probably gotten some really great ideas of what you want to accomplish, but it's where do I need to fill in the gaps and what's most important, how do I create priority? Follow this graph here of looking at your internal strengths or attributes, attributes of the organization internally. What are my strengths that are helpful in achieving the goal? And then what are my weaknesses that will harm or not help me achieve this goal or objective? And then I need to look externally at the environment around us. Are there opportunities that we haven't capitalized upon? Maybe you've learned a bunch of them just in the last 30 minutes. Or threats, which you've probably just learned in the last 30 minutes too, that we need to protect ourselves from. So bullet point, it probably takes about 15 minutes to do that, each of these 4 different areas, and then create your objectives from these, your new objectives of what you want to accomplish, and put it in a timeline. I guess I say it's that simple. I don't know. I've done it a lot, so to me it's pretty simple.
It's not hard to do.
Very
yeah,
helpful.
15 minutes, but it's a good exercise to go through.
It really is. It helps your mind, get your mind focused.
Yeah.
More importantly, it improves internal communication, which that sometimes is the greatest challenge to organizations when they want to move forward. So we're going to wrap it up here because we are sticking within our timeline, like we promised, of 45 minutes. We have a couple of resources for you to help you on your way. Why don't you talk about your new ebook there, Victor?
This ebook, we wrote it to support what we talked about in the webinar here today, how to upgrade your marketing to integrated marketing. Kind of sounds like the topic of this webinar. But it goes into much more detail of what Marguerite and I have talked about. It's free. I encourage you to download it, and if you find it helpful, please share it out with others. The more you share it with, the easier it is on Johnny Appleseed to get the word out here.
And I've got an ebook called The 6 Marketing Metrics Your Boss Actually Cares About. And I've already referred to a few of those numbers in this presentation, like lifetime value of a customer, cost of client acquisition, and so forth. So if you want to learn more details on how to actually pull those numbers together and make sure that they incorporate both your outbound and inbound marketing that's integrated together, then you'll definitely want to check this out. The links to these resources will be provided to you in a follow-up email. And, of course, we'll get you a copy of the presentation and a copy of this recording should you want to see it again. And thank you so much for your time that you spent watching this. I certainly hope that you found at least 2 nuggets that were super helpful. And if you want to take a minute to email Victor and or I about what you thought, we would definitely love to hear from you.
Happy, helpful selling.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.